Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Couple of things here real quick. First of all, I have to apologize for something. There was a typo in the kids' book, and it has since been corrected, so my apologies on that. Either way, that book is available again. If you're interested in a good laugh, and yeah, there you go. Okay. Couple of things. First of all, let me mention some of the false flag wrap-up that's been going on here. As I said in the last episode, this is absolutely great that more and more people are waking up to this and seeing this for what it actually is. It's pretty evident, I think, that regarding the Australia false flag, that potentially anyway, what the individuals were using in as far as the shooters are concerned, is they were using blanks. There's ample footage again that these individuals were shooting at people, and that the so-called people that are being shot at aren't even moving. They're not, they're not hiding. They're not doing anything. They're just kind of standing there. There's some footage that indicates that, so it's quite possible, again, that blanks were being used. Either way, with that said, turns out that the two individuals who were apparently doing the shooting are both Jewish. Go figure. And one of them, well, both of their last names are Cohen, apparently. And the younger individual is a David Cohen, and he had a Facebook page, again, David Cohen on Facebook, Proud Jew Family Faith Community. And he's got the flag and the little Star of Remphan icon there. And then it shows him at a bar mitzvah, apparently, or a picture of him attending. Again, Tel Aviv, Israel is his location. And I believe that this image, again, was tossed into an AI system and it came back as being real and not fake. So there you go. This whole notion of, again, anti-Semitism or Muslims shooting Jews on the beach or XYZ is completely fake. Again, it just can't, it can't be trusted. I very briefly turned on Fox News just for a minute to see what they would be talking about the other day. Middle of the day, and sure enough, it was all about that. That anti-Semitism is getting out of hand. And then sure enough, they interviewed the same guy who is also a crisis actor who happened to be on the beach at the same time. And there's pictures of him being done up with fake blood makeup from a makeup artist. There's actual pictures of this taking place. And then this is the individual that is being interviewed on Fox News or by other news outlets with all of this fake blood coming down his face and completely covered in the whole thing, with a giant bandage around him. Again, he's a crisis actor. And apparently he's a part of Israeli intelligence or, Australia intelligence, something along those lines. So he's the president, apparently, of the Australian Israeli Jewish Council. Again, he was faking because it was fake. This is the thing, again, this is really the separation that exists, of course, between individuals online who really do the investigations and really look into, again, why these things take place, the word usage, the vocabulary, the definitions, all of it. And then they connect those dots and then they start digging on who these actual people are. This is what the mainstream media does not do. This, I think, is what a lot of people are waiting for the mainstream media to do. To basically call all of these lies out and say, that person, here's a picture of them having fake blood put on them. So why are we taking any of this seriously? They could very easily put that picture up and say, this isn't legit. This doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't pass the eye test. Because we're looking at clearly something that is fraudulent, and then we're reporting on this like it's the truth when it's not. Again, it's a sad state of affairs, and it's always been this way, but I just think that this is the thing that we are waiting to see actually take place. We're waiting to see the mainstream media attempt to do what we do. But I think, again, that divide is getting clearer, and we can see it, that they are completely controlled, we are not. That's why they don't like us. That's why they ignore us. That's why they don't interview us. That's why they don't have us on our, on their shows and the whole thing. I mean, that's the reason. Because we have picture evidence that this was fake, and yet they run with it like it's the truth. Now, Australia, in rather typical fashion, I think, they also, of course, are running with more gun control measures and speaking about that as often as possible, that, white nationalism and white supremacy are on the rise, and we condemn any form of anti-Semitism and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they're now running with more gun restrictions, so they say. I don't know how more restricted they can possibly get, but that right there should prove, again, that that's all you need. All you need are some actors who are Jewish, who are pretending to be Muslim when they're not, shooting at a group of Jews on a beach when, in fact, again, the whole thing was staged. Every single piece of it, including, of course, the wrap-up, which is the Hegelian dialect, which you're very well versed in and fully understand. And again, that right there is the ultimate action. That creates the political action that strips people of any remaining rights that they thought that they had. So it's disgusting, but until people keep speaking out about it and bring this to everybody's attention again and then stop complying, well, government's going to continue its chokehold as much as humanly possible. And even if you speak out about it, they're probably still going to continue their chokehold, certainly on Australians. Now, with that aside, there's the Brown University thing, too. And there was a particular post, I think, that summarizes it up rather nicely. This was from Aesthetica on X. And they said, they are not releasing information about the Brown shooting because it was a political assassination of a young girl who ran the only conservative group on campus. She was murdered in cold blood by another radical left-wing freak, unquote. If that shooting took place and if a person died, this, let me get her name here, Ella Cook is apparently her name, the individual who was allegedly shot and killed. Again, if it happened, then that would be the reason that it happened. That there were witnesses, apparently, that this individual yelled Allah Akbar and then again killed this person along with apparently what appears to be an Asian student of some kind. But either way, this was on Praying Medic News. They said the following, Alex Shea on the death of Ella Cook, who was killed at Brown University. They said, quote, I'm still in shock over the news from Brown University where I was a student until a few months ago, and it broke my heart to learn that Ella Cook, a sophomore from Alabama, is no longer with us. I knew Ella through Brown Republicans, where she was vice president. Being a conservative at Brown isn't always the easiest, but Ella was never afraid to share her beliefs on an overwhelmingly liberal campus and support others in doing so. Last spring, while I was under a disciplinary investigation for reporting on Brown's administration for the conservative student newspaper, almost nobody wanted to be associated with me. Ella was one of the few who were willing to stand with me in public and help hand out newspapers in front of the dining hall. Everyone at Brown who knew Ella, regardless of their politics, found her to be friendly and kind. My thoughts are with Ella's family. Ella was a promising young leader taken too soon, unquote. Again, if this happened, then that would be the reason. It was a political hit job. And again, if it was a political hit job, that right there should prove that that's exactly why they're not commenting on it. Again, apparently even Fox News isn't commenting on it, which again should tell you everything that you need to know about them. Again, this is the problem. If it were a black student who were killed, it would be all over the news. If it were anybody else who were murdered, it'd be all over the news. But it wasn't. It was a white female conservative, apparently. Again, being done by someone who apparently they haven't even caught yet. With all the security footage, with all the flock cameras, with everything available to them, they can't find a single individual who walked into a college campus building and shot up a particular classroom and killed 2 people while wounding 9 others. You have to be kidding me. Again, psychological operations don't have to involve murder. A lot of them do, but some of them don't. They can just be scripted. They can be tailored to look that way. And again, that's the way that it typically operates. But a lot of people, again, have caught on to this, which is good. And more people are talking about it. Clayton Morris was talking about it on Redacted. He had Kevin Shipp on, again, CIA, former CIA, once CIA, always, but He was rather blandly talking about psyops and false flags, and he said again, there's going to be more. Well, of course there are, because it's all they have. I mean, it's the only thing that they have. So much so, in fact, that the whole Bondi Beach thing, they are attempting to blame that on Iran. Again, even Netanyahu, I put the clip in the last war video, even Netanyahu was out there saying that he warned the Australians. I warned them that if they don't crack down on anti-Semitism, something like this would happen. I warned them and I told them. Okay. He just involved himself in a false flag. That's all he's doing. He's admitting to everybody that he was involved, that he knew it would take place, that he was culpable in that entire charade. Again, they can't help themselves. They have to bring this up. They have to consistently insert their own words and their own presence within these events because, again, they can't help themselves. They're directly involved. Now, there was an awesome meme that was making the rounds the other day, too, and it was titled, How to Spot a PSYOP, and I wanted to read this. I think I put it in the last war video, and this is from the Free Thought Project. It says the following here at the top. It says, speed and uniformity. If every news outlet, influencer, and government rep is saying the same thing within hours, it's probably coordinated. It's a good thing to keep in mind. There's 4 other points here which are important to keep in mind on how to spot a PSYOP. The next one says, emotion first, facts later. Fear, outrage, guilt, or moral panic pushed hard and fast. Just like the Charlie Kirk thing. Solution before the problem. Was a new law, app, or policy waiting in things? Crisis, quote unquote, becomes the excuse for a rollout. Every time. That happens almost every single time. The next one, follow the benefits. Ask who gains money, power, or control if we believe this. In this case, of course, it's always the whole anti-Semitism, old anti, trying to crack down on people's freedom of speech, their freedom of movement, their freedom to own a firearm, the whole thing. And then finally, they have listed here simple heroes and villains. Real life is messy. PSYOPs make it black and white with a single bad guy and a single savior, unquote. Of course, in their case, they want government to be the savior. They want the institution, like in Brown University, to be the savior. Don't worry, we'll save you. Yes, 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 the person who apparently did the shooting is still on the run. But don't worry, you can trust the institution. Don't unenroll. Yes, people were murdered allegedly, but don't unenroll. Continue to come here where a massive crime allegedly took place. Continue to trust the mainstream media because we tell you the truth all the time. It's exhausting, but people still fall for it. And one of the things that Kevin Shipp said he's right, is he openly said, look, individuals will work 9 to 5. They're exhausted at the end of the day. They come home, they turn on their TV to see what's been taking place while they've been working if they haven't been paying attention to other things as they've been working. And then they watch this and they're so tired and run down from whatever job that they have that they just believe it. Take a shower, sit on the couch, drink a little, whatever else, and then they just absorb it, and they're so tired again from the day that they don't stop and think to themselves that they're being lied to. And then he openly says the CIA knows this. That's why they coordinate the news the way that they coordinate it. That's why it's Operation Mockingbird. That's why it's written the way that it is. That's why you see the faces you see on a consistent basis. Familiar face, familiar voice, familiar sounds, and then the same story over and over again. They don't run stories like this when it comes to the mass killing of whites at the hands of blacks. They don't run stories like this when it's black versus, black on black crime, for example. They just do it when it's against Jews. That's it. And if it's against Muslims, well, they had it coming. That's their excuse, hence the whole Gaza thing. That's the approach that they take. Again, a black guy in Savannah, Georgia, threw acid on a woman's face. I think she's Jewish, but even so, no one's even bringing that up. Why? because the perpetrator was black, and they haven't caught him. They have pictures of him. Woman's apparently in the hospital with most of her face burned. But again, it's just not even mentioned on the news. And of course, they don't run it all day long to try to find the individual. Again, as the meme stated when it was talking about speed and uniformity, and everybody again being on the same page, and this all happened, believe us because we say so kind of thing. There's also the aspect, of course, of timing. What time of the season is it? What time of the year is it? What's going on within this particular period? Again, you're right in the middle of Hanukkah right now, which, of course, I'm certain I did an episode on it. I actually tried to look it up and I couldn't find it, but I know that I did it. And if you've been listening to the show long enough, you know that I did it too. But I went through the entire history of that fake holiday, including Kwanzaa and a few others, if I'm not mistaken. Again, the story surrounding Hanukkah is fake. I mean, the foundation of the very holiday that they celebrate, one of a few, I'm sure, is completely fabricated. And it's misinterpreted. People don't even bother to look into what they were actually doing that caused this particular upheaval, so to speak, back in the day, specifically around, 167 BC. So, essentially, again, it says the following here. After Alexander the Great's conquest, Judea fell under the Seleucid Empire, if I'm saying that right. King Antiochus IV sought to Hellenize the region by banning Jewish practices, outlawing circumcision, Sabbath observance, and Torah study, and desecrating the Second Temple in Jerusalem in 168 BCE by erecting an altar to Zeus and sacrificing pigs there. This sparked a rebellion led by the Mattathias, if I'm saying that right, a Jewish priest and his 5 sons. And the Maccabees, a small guerrilla force, fought against the larger Seleucid army and Hellenized Jews who supported Greek culture. After key victories, they recaptured Jerusalem in 164 BCE, and rededicated the temple to the 25th of Kislev, the Hebrew month corresponding to November and December. Hanukkah means dedication in Hebrew, referring to this rededication. So again, in typical fashion, Jews were being exiled and outlawed from their horrific practices. The people around them wanted nothing to do with them. They were being cast out, and then some of them rose up and said, no, we're going to keep being degenerates. We're going to fight back because we want to keep our degenerate policies and practices in place. And that's a holiday for them. And then the whole, again, miracle of the oil, that miraculously one particular menorah or lamp burned for 8 days with no oil in it. That particular lie came about long after the fact. Hundreds of years, apparently, after the actual so-called event. So, again, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's disgusting. And again, people have to take into account the timing of these kinds of things, certainly when it comes to false flags and psychological operations. Because the people, again, who engage in these kinds of practices engage in deceit and deception. It is their thing. It's what they do. Now, here's another example of this. And this is something that grinds my gears also. You've heard me bring it up before. But I have a great deal that I want to read about this because this is one hell of a meme too, and it's filled with great quotes, and they're all referenced. And I've put it on social media before, but anytime that you hear individuals, in particular Jewish individuals, use, of course, the terms Judeo-Christian and this, that, and the other, one of their backstop default settings is they'll always say that Jesus was a Jew. Well, that's not true. And it's not true for a variety of reasons. So let me read a great deal here, or at least I should say maybe 12 particular passages and quotations that clearly point that this is not the case. First of all, in this particular meme here that's well organized and put together, in the upper left-hand side it says Jesus was not a Jew. There's a quote here, there are a few, But there's a quote here from a Houston Stewart Chamberlain from a book titled Foundations of the 19th Century on page 211, where he said the following, quote, "Whoever makes the assertion that Christ was a Jew is either ignorant or insincere. Ignorant when he confuses race and religion, insincere when he knows the history of Galilee, and partly conceals, partly distorts the very entangled facts in favor of his religious prejudices, or it may be to curry favor with the Jews." There's another passage here from John 7:1 out of the Bible. "After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry because the Jews sought to kill him." Here's another quotation, or another write-up, I guess. It says, "Jew is a 17th century English mistranslation of the Greek word Iodeos, if I'm saying that right, which means Judean. This word is used to describe both residents of Judea and people descended from the tribe of Judah. The genealogy of Jesus Christ confirms he is a descendant of Judah. He is a Judahite, if I'm saying that right, and therefore a Judean. Because modern Jews are descended from Esau, not his brother Jacob Israel, they cannot be descended from Judah and therefore are not Judean." And then another quotation here from Benjamin Friedman, a Jewish scholar from the book Common Sense, apparently. It says, quote, "In spite of the powerful propaganda effort of so-called Jews, quote unquote, they have been unable to prove in recorded history that there is one record prior to that period of a race, religion, or nationality referred to as Jew, quote unquote." Then there's another section about Jews not being Israelites. Judaism is not Hebrewism, and Jesus did not practice Judaism. Again, numerous passages from books, including the Bible, other quotations. It's well done. Point is the deception is everywhere, and it's not going to go away. You just have to figure out, again, who's creating the deception, who's going along with it, how are they connected? And then, of course, once you learn about it, you can't be afraid to speak out about it. You have a right to educate people, and you have a right to speak. You get to say whatever you'd like, and it helps, of course, if you're educated in doing so and have a firm background into the particular subject for which you're speaking. But, again, this is part of communication. This is part of learning. This is what has to happen. But when people try to shut you down because of what you're saying or what you know to be true, well, that person is the enemy. Therein lies the problem. So, again, I'm going to put that to the side, but again, yeah, false flags are going to happen. Psychological operations are going to continue to take place because they always do, and you just turn it off and you ignore it. It doesn't mean, though, that you have to ignore the coming storm that comes with it. You don't have to ignore the aftermath. You should pay attention to that always, of course, and you shouldn't tolerate it either. So Australians are going to have to buckle up. I mean, they're going to have to take to the streets again because they're having more of their rights stripped away, and who knows? Probably more Americans in the future, potentially. Time will tell, but we'll see. Okay, with that said, some Ohio news here before I get into a few other things. It is official, Casey Putsch is running for governor of Ohio. I think this is a very good thing. I've brought him up on the show before, played audio of his before on the show here, and this is, again, he's got my vote. He has my vote. So he put out a great YouTube video on his channel, Casey the Car Guy. It's approximately 30 minutes long. I would recommend listening to it, and certainly if you hear him talk, he not only sounds like an Ohioan, he sounds like a real American. He sounds like an individual, again, who is not from the political talk jargon school that Vivek Ramaswamy comes from. And, of course, Amy Acton is the other murderer who's running for governor, and no one has seen her or heard of her at all in the slightest. So Vivek's the one who's making the rounds right now, but finally someone's going to run against him, and I'm glad that Casey is doing it. I've invited Casey on the show. He's welcome to come on anytime he'd like. I'd love to have him on, and he can talk about whatever he'd like to talk about. Of course, he has a far larger audience than this, but even so, I'm based in Ohio, so is he, and why not? He does have a website here also for his campaign, putschforohio.com, Putsch for Ohio.com. And I'm going to read his platform here. Again, it sounds legit. He's got a picture of him and some NASA kids. I wish that wasn't the case, because NASA's not a space agency. That's what that stands for. But either way, he says the following here, providing a future for Ohio. The problems facing America are the problems facing Ohio. Mass legal and illegal immigration, rampant H-1B abuse, and decades of globalist policies designed to displace Americans from their communities and replace them in their institutions. As governor, I will take bold action to repel these threats. He says returning the American dream to Ohioans. End the replacement of Ohio workers. Ohio was built on innovation and engineering, yet today our institutions betray that legacy by replacing hardworking Americans with cheap foreign labor. As governor, I will crack down on H-1B abuse, hold corporations and agencies accountable, and ensure Ohio's homegrown talent gets the jobs and opportunities they've long been denied. Making housing affordable is his next one. Young families are being denied the main fixture of the American dream, home ownership. We must keep international conglomerates out of our neighborhoods and protect American buyers, and aggressively enhance mass deportations and limits on programs like H-1B that flood the market with foreign buyers. The American housing market is for Americans, not foreigners, not corporations. It's well said. Right to repair is his next one. If you own a product, you should be able to repair it. Simple as that. Companies, tech, automotive, industrial equipment, etc. are gatekeeping this key component to ownership in order to drive up costs on the consumer and to manipulatively keep them buying more often. As governor, I will champion right to repair legislation to put full ownership back into the hands of the consumer. Now, before I interject something here real quick, or as I do, he makes a great point in his 30-minute YouTube video, which I've said on the show before too, is that when Vivek speaks, Vivek says nothing about any policy that he wants to implement. He just doesn't have any. Because as even Casey points out, Vivek's built nothing. The so-called thing that he allegedly built in the pharmaceutical industry was fraudulent. It was built for him to make money within a corrupt system. So he hasn't really built anything. Again, Amy Acton hasn't built anything either. She's killed people with the COVID lie. The old $1 million COVID lottery thing. Most Ohioans remember that. A lot of people who aren't Ohioans remember that as well. It was a nightmare. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mike DeWine openly saying, get your shots. Prove to us that you've filled out your old vaccine passport card and you'll be in the drawing for $1 million. I can't believe people fell for that shit, but they did. And now they're dead. That's too bad. Anyway, I digress. He goes on, he says, innovation support. He says, through innovation programs, innovation hubs, and public partnerships with nonprofit and private institutions, Ohio has many mechanisms to drive innovations in key fields of startups, research, commercialization, advanced manufacturing, and more. As governor, I will expand support for homegrown talent and ensure Ohio innovators have the tools to succeed. He then says, abundant clean energy policy. Ohio has ample natural resources and industry expertise to unlock cheap, clean energy for Ohioans and support robust job growth in the process. As governor, everything from oil and natural gas to nuclear will be on the table. Good. Then he has a section here called Protect American Culture. Accelerate deportations. He says deportations have upended Ohio's communities, and we can do far more than the 2.5 million removals already carried out nationwide. As governor, I will enforce the law aggressively, crack down on leftist obstruction, hold employers accountable, for hiring illegal labor and work with the federal government to restore order in areas overwhelmed by the Biden administration's migrant policies. Next, he says, end DEI in Ohio. DEI has hollowed out our institutions, replacing merit with ideology and denying Americans education and jobs they've earned. As governor, I will follow President Trump's lead to dismantle DEI by cutting funding and holding bureaucrats accountable who discriminate against Americans and undermine equal opportunity. Build beautiful buildings. A key component of American life is the wealth of beautiful historic buildings we get to enjoy. In addition to preserving them, there is nothing stopping us from building more of them to remind everyone of the beauty and history we have as Americans and Ohioans. Preserve cultural heritage sites and institutions. He says Ohio is home to a variety of storied historical sites. Amidst concerted efforts to tear down American history, I will ensure as governor that our nation is here to stay and is here to reflect America in a positive light it deserves. Responsible leadership in AI and data centers. Ohio has always been a state of innovators and leaders, and artificial intelligence is the next frontier where we must take charge, he said. Ohio will lead the nation in responsible AI, capturing its full economic and societal benefits while proactively protecting our residents from its risks. We will not surrender our future to big tech. Instead, we will set the standard for ethical, resident-first AI governance that keeps Ohio safe, prosperous, and ahead of the curve. He goes on here, help Ohioans thrive. It says, crush judicial chaos. Leftists and activist judges are letting violent criminals terrorize Ohioans by exploiting low bail and refusing to prosecute repeat offenders. As governor, I will hold DAs and judges accountable and ensure our legal system protects the law-abiding, not the destructive. We cannot have our own Irina Zaruska. He then says, end human trafficking. Human trafficking and child exploitation demand aggressive, specialized enforcement. As governor, I will build experienced task forces to dismantle trafficking networks and protect the most vulnerable. In addition, I will ensure that the likes of human traffickers, child rapists, and more are eligible for the death penalty as to provide the ultimate deterrent. Next, he has beat political lawfare. Lawfare has proliferated in recent years as a means to shut down free speech and shut down much-needed reforms to our political, economic, and educational framework. As governor, I will strengthen current laws to ensure lawfare can't be used as a tool of intimidation to silence dissent. Well, I agree with that, and I would also apply that, if I was him, to the education system in Ohio. That has got to be completely upended. You've got to get rid of the people within those positions, and you have to speed up the process of investigations of these horrible people who are running these horrible school districts. It needs to not last 2 years for an investigation, but it needs to last 2 weeks. Anyway, who knows? Maybe I could provide a little advice in that area. Fix the prisons, he says. We will overhaul prisons with tough common sense reforms, exponential sentencing that multiplies time for repeat offenders and violent felons, expanded prison labor for public infrastructure and maintenance, vocational training in work-focused facilities, no early release without victim restitution paid from wages, visible chain gangs, swift deportation of criminal aliens, and earned sentence reductions for productive rehabilitation, delivering true deterrence, victim justice, lower costs, and safer communities while turning punishment into restitution and redemption. And then finally, overhaul bureaucracy for the people. Policies will enable smart revenue bonding for high ROI projects, negotiate corporate partnerships for upfront revenue, capture growth dividends in a dedicated fund, maximize federal funds, streamline agencies, monetize assets, boost exports, and ensure performance-based incentives, unquote. What's not to like? Again, when you hear him describe his family and Ohio and America in his 30-minute YouTube video, I think most Americans would wish that they would want someone like him as governor. Again, I'd run for governor, but there's no way I'd win. I mean, I don't have the money, I don't have the funds, and unfortunately, positions like that are relegated to the well-connected or the well-funded. So he fits the mold for all of that, which is fine. I'm 100% for it. But it's long past time that Ohio has an actual governor who's not a fraud. John Kasich and Mike DeWine certainly have been. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, it's about time that we have, again, a business-minded, common-sense, actual Ohioan as a governor for once, for a change. That would be nice. These are the kinds of people that we need. Again, he's right. Vivek will destroy this place, absolutely destroy it, and he'll take all the gullible people with him. It just blows me away. I was friends with Charlie Kirk. You need to vote for me just because of that. He's a fraud. Vivek's a fraud, and Amy Action she's gone. She's missing in action. No one knows where she is. She even lied about her childhood, for God's sakes, and her own mom had to come out and say that she was lying about her childhood. Again, there's not an honest bone in these people's bodies. It blows me away. Just blows me away. Okay. Speaking of Ohio, moving on here, a friend of mine queued me up on this. He said, you got to look this up, Sean. He said, Ohio Revised Code, or Chapter, rather, 2747. I said, what's it about? He said, well, it's about this. And here's what it says on the old AI system. Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 2747, is titled the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act. This chapter, enacted via Senate Bill 237 in the 135th General Assembly, establishes Ohio's anti-SLAPP, S-L-A-P-P, an acronym, Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation statute. It provides protections against lawsuits aimed at chilling protected speech and expression. Key details. Effective date, April 9th of this year, 2025, and it went into effect on December 16th, today as I'm recording. It applies to civil causes of action based on a person's exercise of free speech, press, assembly, petition, or association rights under the U.S. and Ohio constitutions, particularly communications on public concerns or in governmental proceedings. Mechanisms. Allows for expedited motions to dismiss such claims, stays discovery pending resolution, provides for potential recovery of attorney fees and costs if the motion succeeds, and then it says purpose, courts must broadly construe it to protect constitutional rights, and it aims for uniformity with similar laws in other states. In summary, it basically says the following, that Ohio's new anti-SLAPP law, again, Chapter 2747, is designed to protect people from being sued just for speaking out on public issues. So, again, it's a restriction on government being able to sue the public, which is a good thing. If someone files a lawsuit that targets your constitutional rights like free speech, journalism, protesting, or petitioning the government, about matters of public concern, you can quickly ask the court to throw out the case. Once you file this special motion, the lawsuit basically pauses, including most evidence gathering, and the judge has to hold a hearing soon. If the judge agrees, the lawsuit is trying to silence protected speech and the plaintiff can't show a strong case, the suit gets dismissed permanently, and the person who sued usually has to pay your attorney fees. The goal is to stop wealthy or powerful people from using expensive lawsuits to scare regular folks into staying quiet. This law applies to cases filed on or after April 9th, 2025. Well, that's nice, and I like that. And it certainly protects me in this show, which means, again, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can't sue me for it, just listen to something else. It doesn't give people the freedom to lie about individuals when it comes to committing a crime. Again, I can speculate, I can assume, I can make assumptions, I can even opine if I choose to. I can infer, and I get to do that. Other people can do it too, I suppose. But when there's actual fact out on the table that proves that something did not happen and a person is running around saying it happened, well, then that person can be sued. But again, this keeps school boards from suing people also. It keeps city councils from suing individuals who show up and exercise their First Amendment. Again, if they haven't broken the law, then they're allowed to return. Those entities, of course, cannot keep people from showing up and speaking. Unless, of course, again, they've been trespassed because they've broken a law on the property. But either way, it puts government in check to some extent, and I like that. What's not to like? Okay. Speaking of something that should be put into check permanently, and I'm shocked that this is still taking place, although not, because these people are crazy. Speaking of education, this was from Just the News, and it was titled, San Diego School District Teaches Young Kids 28 Sexual Orientations, 9 Gender Identities, so saith the report. Resources taken from LGBTQ activist groups such as the Trevor Project, which tells kids about orientations such as agiosexual. I'm saying that right? Don't even know what the hell that is because it's an alien language. And queer demisexual. Because why wouldn't they? Whatever the hell those are. These people don't even hear themselves. Again, it's a foreign language. It's an absolute perverse foreign language. And by the way, teaching children and kids about 28 sexual orientations and 9 gender identities, do you know where that comes from? It comes from the Talmud. That's where it originates. And people keep sending their kids to school. Isn't that interesting? It says, as early as kindergarten, first and second grades, name-calling and using anti-gay and anti-trans slurs are occurring. At a very young age, children have already been introduced to information about LGBTQAI plus XYZ, who cares, which is often based on misinformation and negative stereotypes. No, it isn't. It's based on exactly what it is, which is you're confusing children on purpose to sexually groom them, rape them, and kill them, or have them have that done to them by someone else or by their own hand. Honest to God, this language that they use, it's just demonic as all get out. The LGBTQA plus terminology student panel welcomes slides share 9 gender identities, including demigirl, demiboy, and gender fluid. While a slide from the Trevor Project lays out 28 LGBTQ youth sexual orientations, including the ones I mentioned earlier, which I can't pronounce, graysexual, abrosexual, and heteroflexible. Oh, that's they think these are things. What is graysexual? I can't believe I'm going to look this up. Ugh. Let's type it into old Grok here and see what pops up. Graysexual. It's still searching. Let's give this a minute in real time. I'm not even going to edit this. See how many results it pops up. Here, oh, Jesus. Okay, here we go. This is awful. Graysexual, also spelled graysexual, same spelling. Often shorted to gray ace, or gray A, is a sexual orientation on the asexual spectrum. Well, of course it is. I mean, I knew that. No, I didn't. It describes people who experience sexual attraction infrequently, at low intensity, or under specific circumstances, falling in the gray area, quote unquote, between asexuality, little to no sexual attraction, and allosexuality, typical sexual attraction. Some feel attraction only once or twice in their life, it says. Others feel it rarely or weakly, It can fluctuate, and some strongly identify with asexual but occasionally experience attraction. My God. Again, if you're teaching this to minors, you're a sexual deviant. You're a sexual predator. It's not complicated. No wonder they can't read, write, spell, and comprehend. They're wasting their days and let alone 5 minutes a day talking about this garbage. Not to mention, if you think about it, the simple creation of that word, which of course it's not a word or a phrase, it's just retarded. The simple creation of it aimed at children is done on purpose, again, because children are not sexually developed yet. So they would probably throw children in the so-called gray area or the gray zone. And these adults would teach them what that means and then look at them and say, well, you're a gray sexual now, but you might not be forever. This is again, it's sexual grooming by sexual predators. That's it. Okay, well, there's no transition here, but I'm going to wrap up with this particular section. I wanted to take a little stroll down jab memory lane here. Again, I'm glad that Casey Putsch has mentioned this. And he mentions it again in that 30-minute video that I was referencing earlier. And he asked the same question I did. Again, where was Vivek during all of this? Where was Vivek during the COVID lie? We know where Amy Acton was. She was murdering people with contests. How much can you get jabbed? Can you win a raffle contest? Oh, sorry, you're dead. So she was doing that, and Vivek was nowhere. Hell, he wasn't even in Ohio at the time. While everybody was engaging in tyranny and being the victim of tyranny, whether they knew it or not. But I came across this passage in a book titled The Unprotected Class, How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. This is from a Jeremy Carl, published a year ago. I haven't read the book, I don't own it, but I came across this particular page online and I thought, oh yeah, that's right. Nice little jab memory lane here. Here's what it says on page 301. This has to do again with a specific date, January 17th of 2022, revealed what Democrats want to do to the unvaccinated. Again, we are aware of this, but I just wanted to sort of revisit this one. And I should also say this, too, that the Stanford Medical Group just put out an article the other day basically saying that, yep, people have died from the COVID shots. Again, good for them. Too little, too late, but at least they came around eventually. After, again, trying to silence everybody who was speaking out against it at the time, claiming that they were right and we were all wrong. Joke's on them, of course. Anyway, on 301 here, it says the following. What's happening to the unvaccinated in some countries almost defies belief. We've endured some horrors here, to be sure. And then it says, but we're not Australia. Okay? We all make typos, myself included. He said the following here, but that's exactly what many Democrats would prefer, and then some, if they could have their way. How do we know? Polling data from Rasmussen just reported the following. Again, this would have been on January or in January of 2022. You may recall some of these percentages here. 59% of Democrats favor forcing the unvaccinated to stay home at all times except for emergencies. 55% of Democrats favor levying state and federal fines on people who decline the shot. 49% of Democrats favor fines or imprisonment for people who publicly question vaccine efficacy. 47% of Democrats favor a government tracking program to people who decline the shot. 45% of Democrats support temporary relocation to designated facilities or locations, quote unquote, for those who decline the shot. 29% of Democrats favor temporarily removing your custody of your children if you decline the shot. He went on and said that's pretty twisted, not to mention that none of that has any connection to public health, quote unquote, Since the vaccinated are also spreading the virus, there is no virus. This is punishment of the non-compliant. No wonder the idea of national divorce is trending. Who would want to share a country with people so hateful and irrational, unquote. Yes. Again, that's what they wanted for us. That's what they wanted to do. Whether they still want that or not is anybody's guess, but when it comes to another political issue or that political issue or this one, then yeah, they would love to lock us up for just disagreeing. Good luck with that one, though. Not going to happen. In fact, I'll actually end with this. There's a lot of chatter online of increased censorship online, whether that be on X or other platforms. Andrew Torba over at Gab has changed up Gab's interface within the last couple of weeks. It's completely different. It looks different. I'm not a fan of the look of the interface, but he claims that he's strengthening it for the purposes, again, of future censorship and future attacks. One of the cool things, though, about Gab 2 is that they ban the IP addresses from India, and I believe they ban all IP addresses from Israel as well, which is kind of neat. So, again, they're trying to get around all of the bots that exist, certainly the ones that exist on X and everything else, but he's over there openly stating, again, that massive censorship is coming right around the corner here, and as you would expect, a lot of it is wrapped up in the old anti-Semitism. Again, it's exhausting, but they're not going to quit until we're all in jail for speaking our mind. So we have to do what we have to do to make sure that that never happens. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you on Friday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.